America's two great pastimes collide on this podcast. It is baseball and making money from the dog days of summer through the October Classic. Greg Bases Peterson's going to be free swinging at the betting board as he tries to hit a grand slam for your bankroll. Now here is GP.
Hello everyone and welcome to MLB Overtime Betting. This is Greg Peterson broadcasting from the Zuni Tequila Studios out here in wonderful Las Vegas. We've got a great show for you as Gilles Gallant of OddsShark is going to be joining me in the second segment. Going to be talking about Sunday's slate. We're going to be talking a little bit about general baseball. It's going to be a lot of fun. In the final segment, I give you a side and total on every game on the Las Vegas betting board and a little something I'd like to call touch 'em all. First things first, though, we've got to take a look back at yesterday and try to make you better handicappers from it and try to find some trends. I did get a couple Twitter questions. I will be answering those tomorrow. My apologies. I got a little bit tied up. I had some dinner with the family and the girlfriend and everything like that. They're visiting from out of town, as you found out yesterday. So let's get right to it in looking back at Saturday's results.
What happened yesterday? Let's go around the bases and find out.
Now, in 35 of the Tampa Bay Rays' 39 wins, they have won by multiple runs as Ryan Yarbrough delivered a gem in this one as the Tampa Bay Rays won Game 1 of their doubleheader against the Boston Red Sox by a count of 9-2. Yarbrough, 7 2/3 innings, gives up 2 runs, just one of which were earned. That lone run came from a home run by Jackie Bradley Jr. That was his 5th of the year, but all in all, the Tampa Bay Rays, a very good showing in this one as Travis d'Arnaud was able to supply some power, his 3rd home run in essentially the last 4 days as Josh Smith, no, not the former NBA player, a little bit of a rough go of it in this one. He goes 4 innings, gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned. Whenever you see him getting a start for the Boston Red Sox, they've got to be a fade there. And then the bullpen of the Boston Red Sox looked pretty good. That was until the 9th inning where Josh Taylor, guy that really was called up in a last-minute situation, gives up 4 runs in that inning, 10.80 ERA. So the Tampa Bay Rays were able to take Game 1 of the doubleheader. Game 2 belonged to the Boston Red Sox, as David Price was very good in this one, leading the Boston Red Sox to a 5-1 win. For Price, he winds up going 6 innings, 10 punch-outs, gives up just 1 run, as the Tampa Bay Rays in this one mustered just 6 hits. The Boston Red Sox also had just 6 hits, but they were able to do a very good job in this one as Ryan Stanek, the opener, wound up having a very quality start, but then Colin Poche wound up giving up 2 runs in 1 1/3 inning. And I will say that many people belittle this guy for the Tampa Bay Rays, but Austin Pruitt wasn't too bad in this one. 5 1/3 innings, he gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned. Actually lowered his ERA to a 6.39. Probably the most untrustworthy arm out there for the Tampa Bay Rays, but all in all, it was a split for them. The Texas Rangers wound up taking both of their games of their doubleheader against the Oakland A's. The first one that they were able to win was by a count of 10-5. It was a very interesting situation as for the Oakland A's, they wound up being able to give a start to Paul Blackburn, and he did not necessarily have the best showing in this one. He wound up giving up 5 runs in his first start of the year, and then Ryan Dull was very dull himself. He gives up 5 runs, 4 of which were earned. As for the Oakland A's, Jeff Fegley, a home run in this one, his 8th of the year, and then Matt Olson also supplied his 8th, but then for the Texas Rangers, you had Noah Mazzara going deep. That was his 9th home run of the year, and then also Tim Fedorowicz winds up going deep for his first home run of the year, as it was a little bit of a mismatch of players that wound up entering this game for the Texas Rangers, as Valdez out of the bullpen wound up being able to provide 2 solid innings of relief, and then it was the first career start of Mr. Joe Palumbo. I think that's a really fun name to say. Oh no, it didn't necessarily go great for him, but at the same time, he was able to essentially do his job, as in 4 innings, he gave up 4 runs, all of which were earned, and then Springs and Valdez out of the bullpen give up just 1 run in 5 innings, and then in Game 2, the Texas Rangers were able to take that one by a count of 3-1. I believe the Rangers have now played 9 unders in their last 11 games without Joey Gallo. They've really been turning over a new leaf, as Adrian Sampson, a complete game in this one. He goes 9 innings, giving up just 1 run. Now is a 3.72 ERA. Looks like a guy that you can rely upon for the Texas Rangers, as the lone run came off the bat of Mark Canha, a solo home run, his 10th of the year. And Chris Bassett has been taken deep quite a bit so far this year, but it wasn't the home run ball that got him in trouble in this one. He goes 5 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, all of which were earned. And then from there, Liam Hendricks wound up going 4 outs and did not give up a run. And Wei Chung Wong, who you may remember from the Milwaukee Brewers from Wei Chung Wednesdays, he also went an inning, did not give up a single run as well. But the Oakland A's bats, just all in all on this day, just were not getting a whole lot going, as they just had 4 hits in that second game of the doubleheader. The Arizona Diamondbacks have it all going on, though. They take down the Toronto Blue Jays by a count of 6-0. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, they were able to get Kevin Cron going, his second home run in the last 2 days. That has been a very good sign for this team. And then also the catcher spot, Alex Avila goes deep for his third home run of the year. As for the Toronto Blue Jays, Aaron Sanchez, 6 innings pitch. He gave up one of those home runs, 5 runs, all of which were earned. He now has a 4.25 ERA, and Sam Gaviglio gives up a run out of the bullpen as well. Has not been necessarily the strongest for him, but what was strong was Zach Greinke. Goes 6 innings, does not give up a single run, 4 hits, and then the bullpen from there for the Arizona Diamondbacks gives up just 1 hit in 3 innings. They look to be an improved group, and the White Sox bullpen has also been very good. They take down the Kansas City Royals by a count of 2-0. They didn't need much of the bullpen, though, because Lucas Giolito, who has been by far the most profitable pitcher out there in the big leagues, no matter what metric you look at, OddsShark, covers, whatever you have it, whether you're laying down 1 unit, whether you're laying down $100 flat for every start, he's been the most profitable pitcher out there in baseball. 7 2/3 innings, gives up just 3 hits, 11 punch-outs, now has a 2.28 ERA. And for the Chicago White Sox, the lone offense that they needed was Eloy Jimenez's 2-run home run. That was in the second inning off of Brad Keller, his 7th of the year, and that was just the 4th home run of the year Brad Keller's given up, as he was good in this one as well. He goes 8 innings, gives up those 2 runs, now has a 4.29 ERA. Did a better job of limiting the walks in this one. He had been giving up right around 5 or 6 walks per 9 innings, just 1 in this one, as he goes 8 innings, giving up that 1 run. So obviously you had a good pitcher's duel there. You had actually a surprisingly low-scoring game in Philadelphia, as the Phillies were able to take down the Cincinnati Reds by a count of 4-1. The lone home run in this game was provided by JT Realmuto, his 10th home run of the year. As for the Cincinnati Reds, the team that looked like they were getting things going with the bats, just 6 hits in this one. Tanner Roark did not deliver the best of starts, 5 innings pitch. He gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned. I will say this for the Cincinnati Reds. They've got one of the better bullpens out there in the big leagues. And then you had Matt Bowen and Hughes wind up combining for 3 innings, giving up just 1 hit and no earned runs. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, Nick Pivetta, who has been up and down all year long, a complete game, giving up just 1 run. Now he's at 4.93 ERA. He looks to be much improved for the Philadelphia Phillies. Fambar Valdez, in his first start of the year for the Houston Astros, was able to deliver a good start, but it was the Baltimore Orioles as a plus $2 or greater underdog, being able to get this win by a count of 4-1. For the Houston Astros, Valdez winds up going 7 innings, giving up just 1 run. That was a solo home run, as being able to supply the power for the Baltimore Orioles. Renato Nunez in that one, that was his 16th home run of the year. But then in the 9th inning, a Houston Astros bullpen that has not been good recently wound up imploding, and the man that gave up the runs in this one, Rayman Gudan, I believe I said that last name correctly. If I didn't, I apologize, but it was Richie Martin providing his 3rd home run of the year, a 2-run shot for the Baltimore Orioles, as they take this one by a count of 4-1. And Andrew Cashner, one of the top 5 most profitable pitchers out there in the big leagues, according to OddsShark, if you put $100 on him in every start. 6 innings pitch, gives up just 1 earned run. He was terrific. And then the Baltimore Orioles bullpen actually looks to be improved. Miguel Castro and Paul Fry go a combined 3 innings, not giving up a single hit. So the Baltimore Orioles look like they're getting some improved pitching, and the Detroit Tigers do as well. They wound up having to give Buck Farmer a start in this one, and they take down the Minnesota Twins by a count of 9-3. The Detroit Tigers starting to get things picked up with the bats. As you take a look at the Detroit Tigers, Jacoby Jones, 2 home runs in this one, his 7th and 8th home run of the year, and Christian Stewart, his 5th dinger of the year. Buck Farmer only goes 2 innings in his start, gave up 1 run, and then from there it was essentially a bullpen day for the Detroit Tigers. Nick Ramirez goes 3 innings. He gives up 1 run. Victor Alcantara, 2 flawless innings himself. Blaine Hardy gives up a run, and then Shane Green closes the door. As for the Minnesota Twins, they were able to get Nelson Cruz going for his 10th home run of the year. He's had a home run in back-to-back nights for the same, but Kyle Gibson, one of the better pitchers out there in the big leagues in regards to making you money, did not do so on this day. 5 innings pitch, gave up 2 of those home runs, 5 runs, all of which were earned. And then out of the bullpen of the Minnesota Twins, which has been pretty good so far this year, Matt McGill winds up giving up 4 runs in just 1 inning of relief. So obviously did not go their way there. And the Cleveland Indians, speaking of teams from the AL Central, they had a good showing against the New York Yankees as they get an 8-4 win. CC Sabathia just seems to have lost his touch. He goes 5 innings in this one. He gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned. But then it was Jonathan Holder that really let this team down. In 1 inning of relief, he gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned. And then Luis Cessa, 1 run himself. But giving up 2 home runs was Holder, as being able to supply the power off of him was Kevin Plawecki, his 2nd home run of the year, and Roberto Perez, his 11th, ironically enough, both catchers for the Cleveland Indians. And then Orlando Orlando Mercado wound up hitting a home run off of CC Sabathia for his 5th home run of the year. Adam Plutko, a decent start in this one, 6 innings pitch. He gives up 2 runs, all of which were earned. He has been an up-and-down starter all year long. This was a very good one for him. Oliver Perez gave up 2 runs out of the bullpen, as well as for the New York Yankees. They do have Didi Gregorius now back in the lineup, and he hit his first home run of the year. That was in the first inning out of Plutko, but Plutko from there was really able to calm things down, and the Cleveland Indians looking very good in the series against the New York Yankees. The Milwaukee Brewers just seem to always pulverize the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they got another win on Saturday by a count of 5-3. For the Milwaukee Brewers, it was Mike Moustakas and Manny Pina being able to get the home runs. Pina is 2nd of the year. That helped you cover the run line if you had it with the Brewers, and then Mike Moustakas, his 19th of the year. As for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they got a pretty short start out of Jordan Lyles. Lyles has been good for the team all year long, but he gives up 3 runs in 3 innings, jacked up his pitch count due to 4 walks. And then from there, the Pirates bullpen, all in all, wasn't too bad. They go 5 innings, they give up 2 runs. Francisco Liriano wound up giving up that home run to Pina. And then you also had Michael Felice giving up a run, but it wasn't too bad. As for the Milwaukee Brewers, Zach Davies just continues to be reliable for this team. 5 innings pitch, he gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned, including the lone home run of the game for the Pittsburgh Pirates, as being able to supply that power was Kyle Moran, his 9th of the year, but he now improves his record to a 7-0 mark, and the Brewers bullpen was terrific in this one, with Josh Hader being able to cap it off with a 9th inning save. A team that was able to cap off a very nice showing out there in Miami was the Atlanta Braves. 1-0 game in this one. Julio Teheran has found it for this team. 6 innings pitch, gives up just 2 hits, now lowers his ERA to a 3.03. And then from there, Anthony Swarzak, Sean Newcomb able to close the door. For the Atlanta Braves, they mustered just 3 hits in this one, but they were able to get an RBI out of Tyler Flowers. And for the Miami Marlins, this is a team that got a very good showing out of Tyler Richards. 7 innings pitched, gave up just 2 hits, 1 earned run, and the bullpen from there really did their job. But for the Miami Marlins, their bats just seem to have really come back to earth, as they seem to have for the San Francisco Giants, as they lose to the LA Dodgers by a count of 7-2. For the Dodgers, they were able to open things up in the 8th inning, as they had multiple guys walked in due for their runs. They had Max Muncy and Justin Turner get walks with the bases loaded. As for the LA Dodgers, they actually didn't get any home runs in this one. They were just doing a great job being able to get 13 men left on base, but won 4 of 14 with men in scoring position. Rich Hill winds up pitching 5 innings in this one, gives up 2 runs, all of which were earned by Julio Urias, holds down the fort for 2 innings. Then you also had Yimi Garcia being able to give a good inning of relief, and Joe Kelly did as well. As for the San Francisco Giants, it wasn't necessarily the fault of Jeff Samardzija in this one. 5 1/3 innings, he gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned, but the guy that you've got to credit this loss to is Derek Rodriguez. He winds up getting no outs and giving up 4 runs, all of which were earned. He just has really lost it. Last year, he was a trustworthy starter. Now he's an afterthought in the bullpen. An afterthought for the St. Louis Cardinals has to be Jack Flaherty at this point, as he wound up having his team lose the Chicago Cubs by a count of 9-4. For Flaherty, only went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 4 runs, all of which were earned, including the lone home run of the game for the Chicago Cubs. And supplying that was Kyle Schwarber, his 12th of the year. The St. Louis Cardinals were able to get 4 runs in the first inning off of John Lester, but from there he calmed down. He was able to provide 5 innings from there, 6 innings total, gave up 4 runs, all of which were earned, including 2 home runs. But then from there, the Cubs bullpen, which has not been good recently, provides 3 innings of relief, not giving up a single hit. As for the St. Louis Cardinals, supplying the home runs, Marcell Ozuna is 16th of the year, and Harrison Bader is 6th, but the bullpen of the St. Louis Cardinals, not very good in this one. John Gant winds up giving up 2 runs. He's been highly reliable for this team. John Breba winds up giving up 2 runs while recording 4 outs, and then you also had Webb giving up a run as well. So the St. Louis Cardinals not necessarily getting the best of pitching there. The Washington Nationals, who have had their bullpen let them down time and time again, were able to get a 4-1 win over the San Diego Padres. It's easier to not have the bullpen let you down when you get 7 strong innings from Max Scherzer. He winds up punching out 9 batters, now has a 2.83 ERA, and advances his record to a 4-5. From there, the Washington Nationals give up just 1 run out of the bullpen, as Wander Suero, still wandering where the strike zone is, gave up 1 himself, but all in all, not a bad showing there, as Hunter Dozier was able to provide his 10th home run of the year. That was off of Eric Lauer, who in each of his last 4 starts had given up just 1 earned run. In 7 innings of work here, he gave up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned. the Padres bullpen from there was able to do the job, but all in all, a much-needed sign for the Washington Nationals, and Mad Max Scherzer continues to be terrific. And the LA Angels bats actually continue to be terrific as well, as they get a 12-3 win over the Seattle Mariners. For the Angels, they got a lot of power in this one. Mike Trout, his 17th home run of the year. Cesar Puello, his 3rd. Tommy La Stella, his 14th home run. And Shohei Ohtani, his 6th, as it just all went wrong for the Seattle Mariners. Pitching in this one, Yusei Kikuchi, who wound up having his last start skip to be able to try to preserve him. Well, it didn't go as planned. He gives up 7 runs, 6 of which were earned in 3 1/3 innings. And then from there, the 2 bullpen arms that came out for the Mariners also gave up multiple runs. Taylor Scott now has a 10.13 ERA as he gave up 3 runs in 2 2/3 innings, and Jesse Biddle gives up 2 runs in 2 innings. As for the LA Angels, they were able to get a very, very sneaky start in this one. They had Nick Ramirez as the opener for the team. And then from there, Dylan Peters wound up following him up, and he actually had a pretty good showing in this one, as Dylan Peters, making essentially his call up to the big leagues for the LA Angels, was able to give up only 3 runs, and he went 5 2/3 innings. He did give up 2 home runs to the Seattle Mariners, as being able to supply the pop. Edwin Encarnacion, his 18th home run of the year, and Kyle Seager, his 3rd, but he did a very good job of being able to limit the damage. And then from there, you had Cam Bedrosian being able to offer an inning of relief, and also Justin Anderson. So what did we learn on this Saturday? The Seattle Mariners are continuing to hit home runs, and they're continuing to play overs. Mad Max Scherzer, still a very good starter for this team. The Texas Rangers, who, oh, by the way, are now 23-11 at home, still dominant at home. The San Francisco Giants are still struggling with the bats. The St. Louis Cardinals are not getting great pitching. The New York Mets, and I forgot to recap this game for you, win by a count of 5-3. As for the New York Mets, you were able to get a solid start out of Steven Matz, 6 innings pitch. He gives up 2 runs, both of which were earned, as they got a home run out of Carlos Gomez, his 2nd of the year, and Pete Alonso, his 21st, as John Gray takes a loss in this one, 5 2/3 innings, giving up 4 runs, all of which were earned. Your takeaway right there, Steven Matz seems to be back online for the New York Mets. The Tampa Bay Rays continue to either lose or win their games by 2+ runs. David Price looks like a good starter. The Atlanta Braves seem to really have something with Julio Teheran. Whenever the Milwaukee Brewers have Josh Hader coming out of the bullpen, you can trust in them to being able to get the win. The Cleveland Indians seem to be getting online with their bats. The Detroit Tigers look to be improved with their offense. Andrew Cashner continues to cash tickets. The Cincinnati Reds appear to not have a lot of offense, along with the Toronto Blue Jays, but the Arizona Diamondbacks continue to get good starts from Zach Greinke, and they continue to have their offense firing on all cylinders. And Lucas Giolito, a guy you've got to continue to back, and the counterpart, Brad Keller, also pitching quite well. So that was Saturday. Now let's turn the page forward to Sunday, and helping me do so, Gilles Gallant of OddsShark. That is up next, right here on MLB Overtime Betting.
Greg is going to the bullpen as he makes a call to the Azuña hotline.
And we are back here on MLB Overtime Betting. Greg Peterson broadcasting from the Azuña Tequila Studios out here in wonderful Las Vegas. This is a little bit of a change of pace from the guest that I had on the podcast yesterday, which was my parents. We're back to a little bit more of these sharper handicappers here, and one of the best I know does terrific work out there for OddsShark. Does a little bit of everything for them as well. He does some NBA, he does some college basketball, he does some NFL, he does some UFC. The list goes on and on. His name is Gilles Gallant, and you can follow him on Twitter at GDog5000, and that dog is spelled DAWG. So he is down like the kids, and Gilles is just a terrific gentleman, and you know how much we love the guys here at OddsShark. So great to have him on. And Gilles, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. You can have me on anytime if you're going to intro me like that. You basically set me up like I'm a prize guest here. This is awesome.
You are a prize guest here. We love having you guys on.
No, I love it, man. I love it. I have no problem anytime, man.
And what I also love is the fact that the Tampa Bay Rays just keep getting the job done. Now, truth be told, we're pre-recording this on Saturday afternoon. They just finished up game 1 of their doubleheader, but through their first 40 wins of the season, the Tampa Bay Rays have won 36 of them by 2+ runs. So that means that if you're taking the run line or reverse run line, what have you, you have been making a ton of money on the Tampa Bay Rays. Is it just me, or is this possibly the hottest trend in baseball right now? Just because I can't remember a team being able to win so many games by 2+ runs. I mean, it's a 90% clip at this point.
Well, especially because the fact that they never really get labeled as an underdog. Like a lot of the games that they're playing, they're the favorite. Like, they've only been an underdog, I believe, 12 times this year, and they're 8-4. So for me, automatically, when I look at that, I'm like, wow, like, okay, this team, well, actually, I mean, I suppose they might have been an underdog against Boston, but yeah, like right now, it's basically them and the Twins in the AL. Like, it's probably the two teams that you can make the most bank on right now, because odds makers really haven't shifted yet enough to really reduce the juice on those lines and really take advantage of it as us bettors.
Right there with you. It has been a little bit stunning that the bookmakers haven't adjusted to so many of these teams, because we're still noticing the Cleveland Indians are laying bigger lines that they should. I noticed that they have been getting a little bit hotter against the New York Yankees, but they really haven't shifted their prices there. And the Minnesota Twins just continue to be an undervalued team, unless, of course, you're playing against the Detroit Tigers, which, well, it's the Detroit Tigers. But what are a couple other teams that you find are undervalued? Because I do think that there's been some good value on those teams. And then I do think that another team that we got a lot of value on, perhaps they're coming back down to earth, the Miami Marlins, and the way that they won like 13 of like 18 games, that was an absolutely insane run.
Yeah, I think there was a point there when the Marlins were hitting so well over the past week. I was kind of like, are we wrong on Derek Jeter? Are we wrong? Like, just kind of think like with the way that he stripped down that roster. I mean, they are coming back now a little bit to earth. I guess that's another question I wanted to ask you, Greg, being from Wisconsin. Does it pain you to see a team from Minnesota do well? Like, just being how close you are from that state. I just wanted to know, is that something that, like, from a Wisconsin standpoint, does that bother you?
With the Minnesota Twins, not at all. It would pain Wisconsin fans if the Chicago Cubs were doing well, just because that's a team in the division. People in Wisconsin also do not like the St. Louis Cardinals. But with the Minnesota Twins, since they're out there in the American League, I'm sure people out there would actually very much welcome the Minnesota Twins versus Milwaukee Brewers both being in the World Series.
Well, it's good that you guys are sticking together on that. And yeah, I could easily see why, from a Central Division standpoint, why you would loathe the Cubs and Cardinals, who are playing this weekend as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. As we do have Gilles Gallant right here on the podcast. And that matchup on Sunday is going to be an interesting one. You've got Kyle Hendricks going for the Chicago Cubs, going up against Adam Wainwright of the St. Louis Cardinals. Right now, I'm seeing the Cubs as about a minus 150 favorite. And I think this is so interesting what we've seen out of Kyle Hendricks. He has been terrific so far this year, and we're noticing he has some very extreme home and road splits. At home, he has been lights out. He's going almost 8 innings in all of his starts at home. Meanwhile, on the road, he's had a couple decent starts, but at the same time, it hasn't quite been the same magic. Do you think that there might be a little bit of something to backing Kyle Hendricks whenever the wind is blowing in, which it actually has been at Wrigley Field the past few days?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't pick it just based on the weather. I do like to monitor that, especially with Wrigley Field. It's funny that you mentioned the road and home splits, because Wainwright actually has the inverse of that. His road splits, like, he has an ERA over 6 on the road and an ERA about 2.31 at home. And his last start, where was he pitching? He was pitching at home against the Cubs, and he holds them to, I think it was less than 1 run. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, it's very interesting. 2 hits, no runs, 7 walks. Yikes. Okay. Either way, I do think that the Cubs are a good spot here. Minus 150 actually doesn't even seem that bad. I might even consider them on the minus 1.5 at that point. But yeah, even at minus 150, I think with Hendricks pitching, that offense behind them, being a Sunday night baseball game under the lights, yeah, I'm going to go with the Cubs in that one. I don't think minus 150 is poor value at all.
I think that is very good value as well. I'm right now monitoring to see whether I'm going to go money line or run line personally, but I'm going to be on the Cubs in this spot. And then I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Rays here as well. But Blake Snell has been a little bit of an enigma this year. I think we can agree with this, because he's lost to the Kansas City Royals twice. He lost his most recent start to the Detroit Tigers as a nearly $3 favorite. But with that said, he's been very good in his career against Boston Red Sox. He's going up against a guy in Eduardo Rodriguez that I feel like has been the victim of bad luck. His fielding independent is a full run lower than his actual ERA. He's actually done a good job of keeping the ball in the yard, but for some reason, he's got an ERA near 5 right now.
Yeah, and that's been kind of the book on him probably for the last couple of seasons, where he tantalizes you with that type of talent, and then he'll just have an outing where he'll pitch 3 innings and get shelled for 5 earned runs off 5 hits. Snell is interesting too. Like, I do agree that he's obviously not in the same form as he was last season en route to the AL Cy Young. He has yet to pitch against Boston this year, but I mean, even last year, his Boston stats were incredible. Like, he had an ERA of, let me just double check this, 1.08 in 4 starts. Ooh. Yeah, like, and had batting average 157. Like, and against that team, that went on to win the World Series last season, that was probably considered best team front to back the entire year. I think I would like him in that spot. Now, obviously, pitching at Fenway is a different beast compared to pitching at home in the Trop. But I think right now, just with the Rays, the way that they've been playing, and if you can get them at plus money right now, I'm pretty sure it's at plus money. I just have to double check my book. Yeah, I have no problem taking the Rays in this spot, especially with Blake Snell. And really, it's basically him and Morton. Like, I'm still kind of leery whenever they put their openers out there, even though they have a really great bullpen. But anytime Snell and Morton have been pitching, it's been lights out, especially Morton. Morton this year has been incredible. Yeah,
Morton has been a strikeout machine, as we do have Gilles Gallant joining me right here on the podcast. And Charlie Morton is certainly a guy that I've been trusting in. And I've now been trusting in Frankie Montas as well, as we're taking a look at the Oakland A's going on the road against the Texas Rangers. Gotta think that both these teams are going to want to get as many innings as possible out of their starters in this one, just because, well, they had to play a doubleheader on Saturday, and with the Oakland A's, Frankie Montas has been able to deliver for this team all year long. Meanwhile, he's going up against a guy in Drew Smyly that I've been saying that we should have Drew Smyly Day for quite a while. You take a look at this guy compared to Frankie Montas, I feel like it's the biggest pitching mismatch on the board. And yet right now we're seeing the Oakland A's at right around a minus 155 favorite, because with Frankie Montas, 7-2 record, 2.83 ERA, and 70 innings, he's given up 5 home runs. Drew Smyly, 13 home runs in 42 innings with a 7.93 ERA. I think this is the one where you got to look at the run line.
Oh, of course. And 7 home runs just in his last 3 games.
Montas hasn't given that up all year.
I know. It's incredible. Look at the Rangers. They just keep hitting the ball so well, like even with Gallo out, who still is sitting on, I believe, less than 100 singles at this point and more than 100 home runs. Yeah, like Drew Smyly's ERA just for this season is 7.93. I'm pretty sure when I was on the pod last time, we had talked about fading him, and then it actually ended up paying off. But I mean, with the Rangers, especially if it's in Texas, they always inflate the totals up to 10.5 and 11. And it's one of the few teams that, kind of like Colorado, where you almost have to consider the over almost every time, especially with a guy like Smyly pitching. I know that obviously the number might be actually a little bit less with Frankie Montas pitching and with his numbers being down and being very consistent throughout the season. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm maybe out on an island on this one, Greg, but I think as much as I want to consider run line and money line, I feel like the total might be where to go with when Smyly on. Like there have been 15 runs just scored just in his last 2 starts. Yeah, it's incredible.
Insane, because right now I am seeing a price here of 11 at minus 115 on the over in this game. It's really interesting because I love Frankie Montas. I feel like he could go 7 innings giving up 2 runs here. But with Drew Smyly, he could give up 6 all by himself, which it really leads you to, do you trust in that Texas Rangers bullpen or not? And the Texas Rangers bullpen has been all over the place this year.
Yeah, it's not consistent enough to feel like that once Smyly, when he gets knocked out of the game, that to rely on them, that they'll be able to hold the fort. So yeah, I think right now, just based on just the numbers, I mean, I would probably dive a little deeper in before you feel very confident in taking an over in that game. But I mean, right now, just on the on-surface stats just point to an over immediately.
It certainly has been a rough go of it for Drew Smyly, to say the least, as we do have Gilles Gallant joining me right here on MLB Overtime Betting. And something I've noticed is that the Dodgers seem to always get a very good game from the San Francisco Giants. It doesn't matter the year. It doesn't matter who's going to be on the mound. The San Francisco Giants just always seem to play this team tough. I think we got an intriguing matchup on Sunday with Walker Buehler going against Madison Bumgarner. I'm seeing a total on this game of 8 with it shaded under, and the Dodgers laying right around minus 160. But I will say this about Walker Buehler. He has been terrific over his last 5 starts. I think that he's given up 0 or 1 runs in like 4 of them. He's been doing sensational work, including that start against the Arizona Diamondbacks where he gives up 1 run, 11 strikeouts in his most recent start. This is one where I really do have to consider the LA Dodgers run line, despite the fact that I just said that the Giants always seem to play them very tough.
Well, and the Dodgers also do hit lefties fairly well this season. And, Madison Bumgarner, I feel like a lot of the time when he's pitching now, odds makers and even bettors in general, kind of, they see the name and then they get a little leery. And even against the Mets in his last start, he still allowed 6 hits and 3 earned runs, 2 home runs as well. It was only the 3 runs of the entire game that the Giants had allowed. Obviously, the Mets blew that. The total, I think, was at 7.5 against Syndergaard. And then, the Mets bullpen did the Mets bullpen stuff. And that was the end of that. I think a lot of the time when you look at a total of like 8, I believe it is for this game, you look at like Madison Bumgarner and you think, okay, well, he's shown out versus the Dodgers before. He's going to be pitching at home. But it's really, really tricky to want to bank on him this season. I mean, he's got an ERA over 4.4 at home. Plus just the fact that he's not really striking out batters the way that he used to. Like the one thing I really like is the fact that he's only allowed 5 walks over 36 innings at home. But yeah, I think right now I would probably stay away from the total. And a lot of the time, when I can't really decide and if I'm forcing myself and I want some action on a game like that, I would probably just go with the Dodgers because their offense is so good.
It is a very interesting predicament here. And Jill, is there anything else that's really standing out to you on the Sunday card? Because one game that I think is so intriguing is the San Diego Padres being a slight underdog against the Washington Nationals. Yep, that's what I'm looking at because Steven Strasburg, he's got some pretty good numbers. He's got an ERA right around a 3.5, has been doing a great job getting over 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. And Chris Paddock has been hit around a little bit, but we're noticing the San Diego Padres playing so many overs, and you can't have any faith in this Washington Nationals bullpen. They've got a bullpen ERA for the year of a 6.5, and we saw them gas can that game on Friday.
I know, and that's what I was going to say, is that the total right now for that game is 7.5. I mean, Paddock, trust me, I believe in his talent. I think he's amazing, but if you just look over his last few starts, especially with how hyped, and if you look at the way that the odds were going into that, like when he went to the Yankee Stadium and he gave up 3 home runs, and then just in his last start at home against the Phillies, he gave up 2 home runs. He's getting knocked around. 3 of his last 4 starts, he hasn't lasted more than 5 innings. So for me, right there, when you pair that with the Nationals bullpen, plus the probability that Strasburg can still, get roughed up from time to time. Like even in just his last start, he gave up 5 earned runs against the White Sox, who I don't exactly consider world beaters by any stretch. At 7.5, I think that total is going way over.
I am right there with you. And I feel like the Padres are a sneaky good team to the over because we saw that they were playing a lot of unders to begin the year and everything like that. And they do have some good starting pitching. But what I also noticed about the Padres is that their middle relief is why a lot of these games are going over, because everyone assumes that it's going to be Craig Stammen and Kirby Yates in the 8th and 9th inning. And I think that they're the best 1-2 combo out there in the big leagues when it comes to the 8th and 9th inning. But then you got the guys like Matt Whistler, Brad Wiak and company. And you take a look at the rest of their bullpen. These guys have ERAs right around 5.
Absolutely. And I know this sounds maybe like a dumb rule, and I kind of have this like when it comes to the NFL, when I see like totals set at like mid to low 30s or anything like that. When I see a total like 7.5, I almost feel like odds makers are daring you to take the over, because I feel like a lot of the time, especially in baseball, like there's so much randomness sometimes that can't be quantified by numbers, that teams just could fall backwards into 7 runs. Or a total like game could just fall into 7 runs, and both pitchers could be wheeling to start off. And then all of a sudden it takes one pitcher just to kind of put the wrench in the plans, and boom, there's a 4-run inning that you weren't even projecting or planning for. So yeah, like right now with this game, I think it's got to be 7.5. I think I have to take the over. I can't trust the Nationals to win a game.
It should be pointed out as well, the Nationals seem to have gotten back a lot of their bats, like Juan Soto, Anthony Rendon, and they actually seem to be doing a decent job on offense as well. So I am right with you on that total play as well. And Jill, I would like to close it up with this. I always love having you on, all the guys from OddsShark, like Ian McMillan, you've got Scott Hastings, Joe Osborne, everyone else. If I forgot someone, I apologize, but always love having you guys on, and I always love having you yourself on as well. Let the good people at home know what you're working on for OddsShark and how they could get a little bit more Gilles in their life.
Absolutely. Well, my beat is kind of wrapping up here shortly with the NBA Finals shifting. But yeah, I would basically be, if you ever go to OddsShark, any of the NBA content that's there, you'll see my fingerprints on it. I pretty much write most of the NBA stuff for our site, but then again, try to come up with some interesting trends and betting angles for us, props as well, to be able to come up with and be able to maybe pitch them out to sports books to see if there's something that we can do to kind of be top of mind. But of course, if you ever want to check it out, even just follow OddsShark's Twitter account or follow me at GDog5000 on Twitter, and you'll see a bunch of NBA stuff there as well.
Terrific. A big thanks to Gilles Gallant for joining me right here on MLB Overtime Betting. And coming up next, it is that time that I give you a side and total on every game on the Las Vegas betting board in a little something I like to call Touch 'em All.
Hey, I'm Steve Heitner, the guy who uttered the famous phrase, "That's gold." And that's the inspiration of my new podcast, That's Gold with Steve Heitner. We talk sports, sports betting, movies, comedy, food, drink, Vegas, music, movies, and more. 5 days a week. Did I say movies twice? Look, guys love it, whether they're hip or worried about breaking a hip. Find us on Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify and Stitcher. That's Gold with me, Steve Heitner.
Welcome back to MLB Overtime. Greg is throwing a gem, so yeah, he better not blow it.
All right, and we are back here in the Zuni Tequila Studios for MLB Overtime Betting. A big thanks to our man, Gilles Gallant, for joining me in the last segment. Does terrific work with OddsShark, and you know how much I love those guys as we are back here in the Zuni Tequila Studios. And now it is that time that I give you a side and total on every game on today's Las Vegas betting board, and a little something I like to call Touch 'em all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch 'em all.
Now, I will throw this out there right at the start. Some of these plays are all locked in, good to go, bet on, everything like that. Other of these plays, I'm waiting on line moves, I'm waiting on lineup changes, everything like that. And I am doing this a little bit earlier today since I'm going to be spending some time with the girlfriend and some family, so for that reason, I am going to be using William Hill numbers exclusively, so you're not going to be getting as much of a range on these. Obviously, it's not going to change too much from what I usually have, but just want to note that so that way I'm not keeping anything behind the curtain or anything like that. Like I said, going to keep you guys abreast of what's all locked in and what's all pending, and any pending plays are going to be noted on my Twitter page in the morning as well at June_81 as to what numbers I get. And as always, we go in Las Vegas rotation order, and that starts with 951, 952 on the betting rotation. The Philadelphia Phillies play the Cincinnati Reds. Sonny Gray goes for the Reds. Aaron Supernola for the Philadelphia Phillies. Total in this game is 8.5 with the over at -115. The under is -105. If you're taking a look at the Phillies, laying -135 here. The Cincinnati Reds come with a little bit of a plus price here, plus 125 here. I know that Aaron Nola had a bad, I believe it was 5th or 6th inning against the San Diego Padres in his last start. But with that said, he's actually been much better in his most recent couple starts. 6-1 record, 4.63 ERA, but a lot of that had to do with how bad he was in April. In May, he really got back to his Aaron Nola self. He had an ERA below a 2.5, so obviously a good showing there. He's given up some more hard contact this year than in the past. 11 home runs in 70 innings. And Sonny Gray, despite his 2-5 record, has been pretty good himself. 3.54 ERA. He's given up just 4 home runs in 61 innings. So that has actually went really well for him. And both these teams, they've got guys that are able to do a decent job of hitting, but they don't hit for the best of averages. 244 for the Phillies going into Saturday, 235 for the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds are led by Jose Iglesias, who's hitting at 294, and then you've got Derek Dietrich, who's doing a great job of providing a lot of power. 255 average, 17 home runs, 37 RBI. You've got Eugenio Suarez, 271 average. He's been struggling a little bit, but he still has 14 home runs, 40 RBI. Joey Votto seems to be picking it up with the bat as well. He is now hitting more in the neighborhood of a 250. Nick Senzel, ever since getting called up to the big leagues, hitting right around a 260. You've got Jesse Winker hitting a 240. He's got 10 home runs. But then you got Jose Peraza, Van Meter, and Tucker Barnard, who are all hitting right around 215 or lower. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, they now have to overcome the loss of Andrew McCutchen. They do get a nice pickup in Scott Kingery, who's been on the injured list a lot of this year. He's hitting at 330, but you got Maikel Franco barely hitting above the Mendoza line. Bryce Harper is right now hitting at 250, but he leads the league in strikeouts despite his 14 home runs. Gene Segura is hitting at 290. Cesar Hernandez, a 280. G2 Realmuto, a 272. And then you got Rhys Hoskins, who's doing a great job of matching along with Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce, I believe, now has 5 home runs in a week with the Philadelphia Phillies. He's been insane. And then Rhys Hoskins, 263 average, 13 home runs and 42 RBI. And both these bullpens are pretty good. The Phillies sometimes have some chinks in the armor, especially when you get to the longer guys like De Los Santos and company, but guys like Hector Neris, Jose Alvarez are pretty good. And then for the Reds, Amir Garrett has been terrific. Rossiel Iglesias, a pretty good closer, and they've got a top 8 bullpen. So for that reason, I am looking at this total under, and I'm going to be looking at the Philadelphia Phillies in this spot. I do think that Aaron Nola delivers a good start here, and Sonny Gray just seems like a little bit of a tough luck loser so far this year. I'm in wait-and-see mode on both these numbers, but we're going to be riding with those. As we move on to 953, 954 on the betting rotation, the Atlanta Braves are on the road facing off against the Miami Marlins. Pablo Lopez goes for the Marlins, and for the Atlanta Braves, it is Max Fried. Total on this game is 8. The under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. If you're looking at the Braves, minus 137 on that. Plus price here with the Marlins, plus 127. We got two good young aces for these teams. Max Fried, obviously, is not pitching quite the way that he did at the beginning of the year, but you take a look all in all, even though he's been hit around a little bit more recently, he's done a terrific job for the team all year long. 7-3 record. 3.68 ERA in 66 innings. He's given up 8 home runs and 18 walks. That's pretty good. And Pablo Lopez giving up right around 2.5 walks per 9 innings. So he's done a good job with the command. 63 2/3 innings. He's allowed 8 home runs, but he also pitches in a pitcher-friendly ballpark in Miami. So I think that is going to help him out. And if you take a look at Mr. Lopez, in 3 of his last 4 starts, he's given up 1 or fewer runs. So he's been doing a great job for this team. With the Miami Marlins, you do have the worst team in regards to runs per game in the big leagues, but through their first 6 games in June, they were actually leading the big leagues in the month of June in regards to runs per game, and the Atlanta Braves were number 2, but I certainly do think that there's going to be some regression with that, so for that reason, I am going to be on this total under, especially with the Miami Marlins, who do not have a good bullpen for the year. Actually picking it up, though, guys like Guerrero and Sergio Romo and company are starting to do the job. Meanwhile, with the Atlanta Braves, I do like what they're getting out of guys like Luke Jackson, Josh Tomlin and company. And then for the Atlanta Braves, their main power source is Freddie Freeman. 311 average, 17 home runs, 41 RBI going into Saturday. Dansby Swanson has been pounding out the dingers as well. 13 home runs for him, over 40 RBI. He's been terrific. Then you've got Ronald Acuna Jr. He does a little bit of everything for this team. Double-digit amount of home runs, 280 average. We all know what Austin Riley's been doing ever since he got called up to the big leagues. This is a man with 9 home runs in a little bit over 3 weeks, hitting above 300. Ozzie Albies is hitting at 270. Taylor Flowers and Brian McCann at the catcher spot, both have been terrific for this team. Now you're noticing that Nick Markakis and Josh Johnson have seen dips in their average, but all in all, they've done a solid job. And then for the Miami Marlins, you're seeing some come-ups with a couple of these guys. Jorge Alfaro is hitting 275. He's been able to provide 9 home runs, 25 RBI. Miguel Rojas hitting just below 275, and Garrett Cooper hitting at 275 himself with a little bit of power. Brad Anderson is hitting at 245. He's got right around 25 RBI. Sterling Castro and Martin Prado hitting in the 230s, though. JT Riddle and Curtis Granderson in the outfield hitting below the Mendoza line, but you have to like that Harold Ramirez has been doing a great job whenever he's out there hitting above a 300, though he did get the day off yesterday. So I do think that the Atlanta Braves have a little bit more firepower with the bats, and I do like their bullpen a little bit more, so I do think that they win a little bit of a lower scoring game. I am on the Atlanta Braves and the under in the spot, and I have locked in both of these plays. We move on to 9:55, 9:56 on the betting rotation. You've got the New York Mets, and they are going to be playing host to the Colorado Rockies. Jeff Hoffman goes for the Rockies. Noah Thor Syndergaard for the New York Mets. Your total on this game is 8. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. If you're looking at the Mets, going to be laying minus 195. Colorado Rockies have a plus price here, a plus 175. With this, I do think that Noah Syndergaard is going to be able to win this start over Jeff Hoffman. You just take a look at Jeff Hoffman. I know that Noah Syndergaard has not necessarily been sterling himself so far this year. He's got a 3-4 record, 4.83 ERA for Thor, 82 innings pitched. He's given up 10 home runs, which isn't too bad. That's a little bit over 1 home run per 9 innings. 20 walks as well. That's a little bit over 2 walks per 9 innings. But you take a look at Jeff Hoffman. I mean, it's hard to back this guy. 1-2 record, 7.29 ERA. In 21 innings, he's given up 5 home runs. Ugh. That is right around 2.3 home runs per 9 innings. And with the New York Mets, they are getting some of their bats healthy, like Jeff McNeil at the top of the lineup, hitting a 337 going into Saturday's action. Pete Alonso has been a guy that I think is going to win Rookie of the Year. 265 average, 20 home runs, 45 RBI, has been absolutely sensational. They've had Robinson Cano in and out of the lineup, as well as Wilson Ramos, but Ramos seems to be back with his 275 average. Todd Frazier, Amid Rosario, both guys are hitting right around 250, and you've got Todd Frazier, who's been doing a little bit of a better job with the power. He's provided 5 home runs and a limited amount of at-bats. Michael Conforto hitting more in the realm of 260 to go with his 12 home runs. And then you've got Dominic Smith, who has really been a nice find. In the couple games that he's been with the team, he's hitting just below 400, and then you do have Carlos Gomez bringing up the rear with a batting average below 200. But for the Colorado Rockies, you do have a lot of firepower in this lineup as well. These guys are all hitting 300 or better. David Dahl with a 338, Nolan Arenado a 332, and Charlie Blackmon with a 300. Blackmon fresh off the injured list. He's provided 10 home runs. Nolan Arenado, 16 dingers with his 54 RBI. Trevor Story's hitting just below 300 with his 15 home runs, 43 RBI. Ian Desmond has been doing a better job with his average along with Daniel Murphy. Both these guys were hitting right around the Mendoza line about a month ago. They both have had a massive come up. And then you've got Brandon Rogers, who's hitting right around at 250, who's essentially the weak link because You also have Tony Walters, who's hitting nearly at 300. Now for the Colorado Rockies, you do have some guys that are a little bit untrustworthy out there in the bullpen. The longer guys like Mike Dunn, DJ Johnson and company. If you're able to get into the guys like Brian Shaw and Wade Davis, it's a little bit better. And with the New York Mets, we all know that other than Edwin Diaz, you really can't trust in anyone in this bullpen, but I do think that Syndergaard certainly is going to be able to go much longer than Jeff Hoffman in this start. So for that reason, I'm going to be looking at the run line of the New York Mets, currently seeing plus 105 there. Would like to be able to get a little bit more of a plus price, and I'm certainly going to be riding this total over. Would like to be able to get minus 110 juice instead of minus 115, but we're going to be playing both of those. We move on to 957, 958 on the bag rotation. The Milwaukee Brewers play host to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Steven Beralt goes for the Buccos. Meanwhile, Chase Anderson on the bump for the Milwaukee Brewers. Your total on this game is 10. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. If you're looking at the Buccos, you're going to be getting plus 150. Want to lay it here with the Brewers, that is minus 160. Steven Beralt has actually looked a little bit better in his most recent couple starts. In his last start against the Atlanta Braves, he only went 4 innings, but he gave up 1 run, so that was obviously good. And then in his start before against the Cincinnati Reds, he did not give up a single run in 5 1/3 innings, and for that matter, in 5 out of his last 6 starts, he's given up 2 runs or fewer. So obviously, there's something that seems to be going right with Steven Beralt, but something that's not going right for the Pittsburgh Pirates is their bullpen. It's in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in regards to ERA, and Chase Anderson is a gentleman that certainly got blown up in his last start. That was not a good showing for him. I believe that was against the Miami Marlins, a game in which he lost, but with that said, all in all for the year, he's been pretty good. 3-1 record, 3.93 ERA, and 36 2/3 innings. The 7 home runs that he's given up are a little bit too much, but he's got good swing and miss stuff with 40 punch-outs. That's just below 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. And then with the Milwaukee Brewers, you've got a lineup that is just loaded with bats. We all know about that man, Christian Yelich, entering into Saturday, 23 home runs, 337 average, over 50 RBI. He has been sensational. But you forget about Mike Moustakas. 18 home runs so far this year. He pairs that up with a batting average of a 275. Orlando Arcia has been a Pirates killer recently. He's got his average above a 260. Yasmani Grandal is hitting just below 280. He's also got a lot of pop in the bat with 13 home runs. Ryan Braun was able to take the Pittsburgh Pirates deep on Friday. He's got 10 home runs now to go with his 270 average. Lorenzo Cain is hitting at 260. Eric Thames got a home run on Friday. He's hitting just above 240, but he's been doing a solid job. Now, you do have Travis Shaw, Jesus Aguilar, and Manny Pino. We're all hitting below the Mendoza line, but those guys have been really relegated out of the lineup. Meanwhile, with the Pittsburgh Pirates, you've got a couple guys that are doing a terrific job of getting on base, including Kevin Newman, who's hitting above a 300 for this team. Colin Moran is really picking it up with the bat as well. He's got 3 home runs in essentially his last 5 days. He's got a 283 average. Josh Bell is just absolutely slugging at this point. His batting average right around a 330 to go with 18 home runs, 56 RBI. Sterling Marte is up his average to a 280. Brian Reynolds is hitting a 350. Melky Cabrera has been in and out of the lineup, but he's hitting right around a 325 to a 330 himself. Corey Dickerson is fresh off the injured list, so he should be able to provide a spark, and Elias Diaz is hitting 300 himself, but I do think that both these guys are going to be able to deliver a quality start. I do think that in the end, the Milwaukee Brewers are going to be able to get to that Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen, and they're going to be able to win this game. But with the Milwaukee Brewers, keep in mind, they're one of the better under teams out there in the big leagues, and I do think that Chase Anderson is going to do his job. And then you've got guys like Jeremy Jeffries, Josh Hader, and company out there in the bullpen that's going to be able to hold this game down. So for that reason, I've already locked in the total under on this game, and I'm going to be looking at the Brewers run line, currently seeing a run line price of a plus 115. I'm in wait and see mode to see if I can get a little bit of something more in that, and I do think that Brault is going to be decent, but I think he's going to be let down by the bullpen here. 959, 960 on the betting rotation. It is the Chicago Cubs, and they play host to the St. Louis Cardinals. This total is off the board since it is a Wrigley Field game, but you've got Kyle Hendricks going for the Cubs and Adam Wainwright for the St. Louis Cardinals. You do have sides on this one, and with these sides, it is the St. Louis Cardinals, an underdog of plus 145. You want to lay it here with the Cubs, that is minus 155. And Kyle Hendricks has some very interesting splits. Whenever he's on the road, he's been a below-average pitcher, but he's been one of the best pitchers at home so far this year with the Chicago Cubs. He's especially dangerous whenever the wind is blowing in, and it has been blowing in recently at Wrigley Field. Looks like it probably will be that way on Sunday as well. You take a look at Kyle Hendricks for the year, 6-4 record, 3.16 ERA, has allowed just 7 home runs in 77 innings. Absolutely superb there. And he doesn't issue many walks, just 14 walks in those 77 innings. He's been absolutely terrific at 71 strikeouts, which is better than normal for him. And then you take a look at Adam Wainwright. He's a gentleman that is a little bit of an older pitcher, and he seems to be doing a decent job. 5-5 record, 4.34 ERA, nothing great, nothing awful. The 30 walks are too many, but 9 home runs and 66 in the third innings, maybe a little bit high, but at the same time, it's not awful. But with the Chicago Cubs, I have a lot more faith in their bats in this one because with their team, they just have a lot more guys that are hitting right around 300, and it's all led by Anthony Rizzo. 280 average, 16 home runs, 44 RBI. Javi Baez has been a St. Louis Cardinals killer. He's hitting 306. He's provided 16 home runs, 44 RBI going into Saturday's action. And then you've got Wilson Contreras and Victor Caratini at the catcher spot. Both have been spectacular. Contreras likely going to be in this one. 291 average to go with 13 home runs. Jason Hayward seen a dip in his average to a 245. And Albert Almora Jr. sitting right around 250. But David Bodie seeing a nice come up as well. 275 average. He had 7 RBI in a game earlier this week against the Colorado Rockies. Now Kyle Schwarber still hitting below 230 for this team, but he still has 11 home runs. Chris Bryant 13 dingers to go with his 270 average. And then you take a look at the St. Louis Cardinals. You've got a bunch of guys that are hitting for mediocre averages, I guess you could say. Harrison Bader sitting at 240, Colton Wong at 234. Matt Wieters, who's filling in for Yadier Molina, has seen a dip in his average to a 260. Matt Carpenter is hitting at 225. Paul DeJong is hitting a 275, and he's got now 10 home runs. Marcell Ozuna supplying the power, 250 average with his 16 home runs. And Paul Goldschmidt, 12 dingers to go with his 267 average, but not quite what they traded for there. And with the St. Louis Cardinals, we're noticing that Jordan Hicks out there in the bullpen has not necessarily been great for this team. Andrew Miller seems to be getting a little bit better for them, and they've got guys like Greg Gallegos that are okay, and with the Cubs, they do get Pedro Strop back. He hasn't necessarily been great for this team, and it's hard to have your faith in guys like Kyle Ryan and Brad Brock and company. So with the total, it's in wait-and-see mode, but there always is that possibility with the wind blowing in that Kyle Hendricks could go 8+ innings just because he's very efficient with his pitch count. So for that reason, currently wait and see mode on the total since it's not posted up. Check back in the morning on my Twitter feed at Junior_81 for that, but going to be all over the Cubs, either money line or run line depending on the weather. 961, 962 on the bag rotation. You've got the San Francisco Giants playing against the LA Dodgers. Madison Bumgarner goes for the Giants. Meanwhile, Walker Buehler goes for the LA Dodgers. I will note this as well. We've seen CG technology numbers come out as well, so now I'm able to give you a little bit more of a range as the total on this game is 8. The juice on the under is anywhere between -115 and -120. The over is anywhere between even and -105. If you're taking a look at the Dodgers, you're laying anywhere between -158 and -160. Plus price here with the Giants between 148 and 150. And this is a spot where I certainly do have to take a look at the LA Dodgers. Walker Buehler has looked absolutely spectacular in his last couple starts. Meanwhile, Madison Bumgarner, he certainly still is a quality pitcher, but at the same time, he's just not the Madison Bumgarner that we saw in the World Series a few years ago. Take a look at Mad Bum. 3-5 record, 4.05 ERA. So that's great command, giving out just 16 walks in 80 innings, but 12 home runs as well. That's just below 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. That's really been a little bit of a bugaboo for him. He's getting right around a strikeout per 9 innings, which is what you're getting from Walker Buehler as well. Walker Buehler, a 3.69 ERA, 6-1 record. A lot of that has to do with the fact that he was poor at the beginning of the year, but ever since then, he has been dynamic. You take a look at his last start against the Arizona Diamondbacks, 11 punch-outs and 1 earned run in 8 innings of work. And for that matter, you take a look at 4 of it out of his last 5 starts. He's given up 0 or 1 runs while going 6+ innings in every one of those that he gave up 0 or 1 runs in. So he has really been doing a terrific job, which is big because with the Dodgers, you've got some guys that you can't trust out there in the bullpen like Yimi Garcia, Caleb Ferguson and company. Meanwhile, the San Francisco Giants, other than their long relievers, actually have a pretty solid bullpen. And for the LA Dodgers, you got to like what Cody Bellinger is doing. 365 average, 20 home runs, 54 RBI. This guy has been sensational. Now, I will say that Kike Hernandez is still struggling a bit with the bat. He is only hitting a 220 so far this year. Jock Peterson, though, he's been terrific. 18 home runs, 260 average. Max Muncy's hitting just below 280 to go with his 12 dingers. Corey Seager has upped his average to a 260. Russell Martin is hitting a 275. Alex Verdugo hitting 300 along with Justin Turner. And then you take a look at the San Francisco Giants. Got a bunch of guys that are really struggling with the bats, and you've just got a whole bunch of guys that have just not gotten online as well. You take a look at the shortstop spot, Donovan Solano, he is hitting 207. You've got Garcia at the catcher spot hitting below the Mendoza line. Kevin Pillar has been very, very poor this year, hitting right around to 240. Brandon Crawford hitting at 210. Evan Longoria at 230. Mike Yastrzemski a 233. Brandon Belt 247 with 9 home runs is essentially the high watermark for this team. Tyler Allison, ever since a hot start, is now hitting right around 245. Stephen Voigt at 250. And then whenever you have Pablo Sandoval, it's actually an upgrade because he's hitting more in the neighborhood of 285 to go with his 8 home runs. So he's actually been good for this team, but you're just not getting a lot of offense out of the San Francisco Giants at this point. But I do think that the LA Dodgers certainly are going to be able to get to Madison Bumgarner in this spot. I do think that Buehler's going to give up a run or two as well, and we know that with the Dodgers bullpen, it's not necessarily reliable. So for that reason, actually taking a look at the over, but I'm taking a look at the Dodgers run line here as well, just because I do think that they get to Mad Bum and that bullpen. Right now, I'm seeing a run line price of even at both shops. So right now in Wayne C mode there, would like to be able to get a little bit of a plus price, but going to be riding out the run line of the Dodgers and the over in this spot. 963, 964 on the betting rotation. The San Diego Padres play host the Washington Nationals. Steven Strasburg goes for the Nationals. Chris Paddock goes for the Pods. The total on this game is 7.5. The over is anywhere between minus 105 and minus 110. The under is between minus 110 and minus 115. If you're looking at the Padres, laying anywhere between minus 119 and minus 120. Plus price on the Nationals anywhere between plus 109 and plus 110. Steven Strasburg is just an anomaly to me. He has some very good starts, and then he has some awful starts. Chris Paddock seems like he's a guy that's coming back to earth. 4-4 record, 2.97 ERA. He's been blown up in his last couple starts. He really had a rough go of it when he went to Yankee Stadium. The Dodgers got to him, but all in all, I still do like the plus stuff that he has. 66 punch-outs in 60 and 2/3 innings. He's given up 9 home runs and 12 walks, so he's got good command. Meanwhile, with Strasburg, 6-3 record, but a 3.54 ERA. 84 innings pitched. He's got 104 strikeouts, so he's averaging over 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's given up 8 home runs, which is just below 1 home run per 9 innings, and the 23 walks not necessarily bad, but just seems like he sometimes has some lapses. And with the San Diego Padres, if Chris Paddock can give them a solid 7 innings, you're able to then go to Kirby Yates and Craig Stammen in the 8th and 9th innings. Both those guys are probably the best 1-2 punch late in the game that you could ask for. And with the Washington Nationals, we saw it with this team on Friday. Their bullpen always likes to blow games, as they've got a team bullpen ERA right around a 6.5 that by far leads the league. And with the Washington Nationals, they do have a lot of their bats back and healthy, and they're doing a good job. Anthony Rendon, 322 average, 11 home runs, 40 RBI. He's been sensational for this team. You've got Juan Soto, who's really been doing a great job of being able to drive in some runs. He's got right around 40 RBI for this team, hitting just below 300. He's been able to supply the power as well with 10 home runs, so gotta like what he's doing there. Howie Kendrick has been great for this team all year long, getting 325 to go with his 10 home runs. Brian Dozier seems to be picking it up with his 235 average. Victor Robles is hitting right in the neighborhood of 240, but he's got some very good speed. Yan Gomes only hitting a 230 is a little bit of an issue. And then you've got Adam Eaton and Trey Turner hitting between 255 and 265. Trey Turner led the league in stolen bases last year, but I do like what you're getting out of the Padres a little bit more. Fernando Tatis Jr. is now off the injured list. He was able to hit a home run for the team on Friday. Will Myers is only hitting a 230, but he's got a double-digit amount of home runs. Famio Reyes is hitting a 241, but he has been supplying the boom. 19 home runs for him. And then you've got Hunter Renfroe, who's also been supplying a whole bunch of power. He's got 18 home runs, and he's not even playing on an everyday basis, which is incredible. Josh Naylor is starting to nail the ball. He provided the game-winning hit for the San Diego Padres on Friday, as his average more in the realm of a 250. Eric Hosmer has been doing a nice job of being able to drive guys in. 282 average, 10 home runs, 36 RBI. Manny Machado has been a little bit of a disappointment. He's only got 10 home runs at a 241 average. You expect much more out of a guy that's getting provided $300 million, but I do think that Paddock gives a little bit of a better start here than Steven Strasburg, and we're noticing the Padres very quickly becoming an over team. It is because whenever they're not able to get into the guys like Stammen and Yates, the middle relievers are not necessarily great, but the bats have been doing a great job of supplying the power for the San Diego Padres. So for that reason, going to be riding the San Diego Padres and the over in this spot, just in wait-and-see mode as to what numbers I'm going to be able to get there. We move on to 965, 966 on the betting rotation. You got the Tampa Bay Rays, and they hit the road to face off against the Boston Red Sox. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Boston Red Sox. Blake Snell for the Tampa Bay Rays. Total in this game is 9. The under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. If you're looking at the Rays, you're going to be laying minus 120. And for the Boston Red Sox, that's a plus 110 price. I don't have the record offhand in front of me just because the doubleheader is still going on between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Boston Red Sox as I do this recording, but the Tampa Bay Rays have just completely owned the Boston Red Sox so far this year, though I will say that Blake Snell has been a little bit hit or miss for the Tampa Bay Rays so far this year. We saw him lose the Kansas City Royals twice. We saw him lose his last start to the Detroit Tigers. But what I will say for him is that he still has tremendous swing and miss stuff, and he's going up against a guy in Eduardo Rodriguez that has been the victim of bad luck. His fielding independent is a full point lower than his ERA. You take a look at his ERA, 6-3 record, 4.88 ERA, 137 WHIP, and 66 and a third innings. He's given up 20 walks and 8 home runs to go with 73 strikeouts. His fielding independent is more in the neighborhood of a 3.5 at last check. Meanwhile, with Blake Snell, he's got a 3.68 ERA, but a 3-5 record. 91 strikeouts in 66 innings is sensational, but he has lent himself to a little bit of hard contact, giving up 9 home runs in that time. But he's backed up by a Tampa Bay Rays team that is doing a great job of being able to hit. Going into Saturday, Austin Meadows, 348 average, 12 home runs, 38 RBI. He has certainly been supplying the boom. You've got Brandon Lowe, who also has a double-digit amount of home runs, along with Avisail Garcia, who has been able to provide 10 or 11 home runs as well. Garcia hitting just below 300. Brandon Lowe, a 281. Guillermo Heredia has upped his average to a 261. Tommy Pham has been doing terrific for this team. He's got an average of a 288. He's providing 8 home runs. Andy Diaz is back in the lineup and off the injured list. Kevin Kiermaier and Willie Adames have both upped their averages above a 250. They've been hot recently. G-Man Choi now hitting a 280. And Travis Arno, 3 home runs against the Boston Red Sox in this series, and I believe that 2 of those home runs actually did come in the previous series on Thursday as well, but he has been hot recently with the bat. And then you take a look at the Boston Red Sox. We're getting something out of Mookie Betts, but it's more power than anything else because his average has dipped all the way below a 265, but he does have 10 home runs. Michael Chavis has 10 home runs himself, but we've seen a dip in his average to just above 250. Xander Bogaerts and JD Martinez have both been terrific, though JD Martinez has been out of the lineup a bit the past few days. Both these guys have 12 home runs and a batting average just below 300. Rafael Devers hitting a 306 is nice, and Christian Vasquez hitting a 285 helps out the cause, but Eduardo Nunez is only hitting a 230. You're noticing that Brock Holt has been doing a decent job since coming off the injured list, but Jackie Bradley Jr. and Sandy Leon both hitting a 210 or lower as well. So for that reason, with the Tampa Bay Rays having just such a dominant bullpen, you have so many guys that you're able to rely upon. This team's ERA is in the top 5 in nearly every aspect. Bullpen, starters, overall. I mean, they've been having terrific pitching. And for the Boston Red Sox, they really had to dive deep into their bullpen yesterday. And I think they're going to be tired as a result. And I think the Tampa Bay Rays are going to hit them, and they're going to hit them hard. So for that reason, looking at the Tampa Bay Rays here on the run line and taking a look at the total over, right now, I would like to be able to get maybe a little bit more of an 8.5 on the over. If not, I will certainly take the unjuiced 9. And right now, seeing a Rays run line price of a plus 125, I think I can do much better than that with the way that this line is pretty tight. So I'm in wait-and-see mode there as we do move on to 967, 968 on the betting rotation. The Minnesota Twins are on the road facing off against the Detroit Tigers. Ryan Carpenter goes for the Tigres. Meanwhile, Jake Odorizzi for the Minnesota Twins. Total in this game is 9. The over is minus 120. The under is even. If you're looking at the Twins, that is a minus 240 price. Meanwhile, plus price here with the Detroit Tigers is a plus 210. Ryan Carpenter has actually had a couple decent starts. He was able to knock off the Tampa Bay Rays as a massive underdog in his last start, and he looked pretty good against the Baltimore Orioles. But this also is a guy that also got shellacked in a game in which the LA Angels knocked off the Tigers by a count of something like 13-1 or something like that. This is a guy that I just have a really big issue trying to put any faith in. Meanwhile, for the Minnesota Twins, you've got to like the way that Jake Odorizzi's been pitching. One of the top 10 most profitable pitchers out there in the big leagues, according to OddsShark, into record 196 ERA in 64 and a third innings. He's only given up 4 home runs, 21 walks, 70 strikeouts in that time. Carpenter, meanwhile, 6.23 ERA, has allowed 7 home runs in 26 innings. He's only given out 6 walks in 26 innings, so good command, I guess you could say, but he's also backed up by a bullpen that got very, very badly taxed yesterday because they had to use Buck Farmer in a spot start, and I just don't think that Ryan Carpenter is going to be able to give you enough length that you're able to get into the trustworthy guys alone like Shane Green and company, so this is a spot where I certainly do have to take a look at the Minnesota Twins, and you take a look at the Minnesota Twins through their first 62 games of the year, 120 home runs. They're on pace for over 300, which would shatter the mark that was set by the Yankees for a amount of home runs in a single season, and it's all led by that man, Eddie Rosario. 267 average, 18 home runs, 50 RBI going into Saturday. Jorge Polanco has been doing a great job of supplying both power and average. 10 home runs, 338 average. Max Kepler hit 3 home runs against the Cleveland Indians a couple days ago. He's got a 266 average. He's got 15 plus home runs. Nelson Cruz is fresh off the injured list. He's hitting right around 265 with some power. CJ Cron has been doing a terrific job, hitting just below 280. He's been giving the team 14 home runs as well. Jonathan Scope, a double-digit amount of home runs ago with his 250 average. Brian Buxton doing a great job of getting on with Jason Castro. Both these guys hitting above a 270. And Miguel Sano is now off the injured list. And Marwin Gonzalez now has his average above a 250. Meanwhile, with the Detroit Tigers, they seem to be improving their batting average. Christian Stewart is now hitting above a 250. Someone called the papers here because this guy was hovering right around the Mendoza line about a month ago, along with Nico Goodrum, who's hitting a 236. Miguel Cabrera has certainly not been providing home runs, but he does have a 292 average to go with his 3 home runs. Brandon Dixon hitting right around a 300 has been good for this team. Gordon Beckham is only hitting a 230, but then you've got Harold Castro, who at the third base spot is providing a little bit of something. Grayson Greiner is hitting below the Mendoza line, but Jacoby Jones now is hitting a 242, and he's provided 7 home runs, so that's been good. And Nick Castellanos hitting a 260 himself. You do have a lot of guys that have been struggling for this team, but they seem to be all on the injured list right now, so that's actually a good break for the Detroit Tigers. But I do think that in this spot, the Minnesota Twins are going to be able to hit them and hit them hard, and I do think that Jake Odorizzi, along with that great bullpen of the Minnesota Twins, going to be able to get the job done in this one. Looking at a run line price of the Twins, currently seeing minus 150. Certainly going to be looking to lay less juice in that one, but also taking a look at this total under. Right now seeing under 9 at even juice, a little bit offshore as well. I probably would take that. I'm in wait-and-see mode to try to see if this goes to 9.5, but if I can't get a 9.5, certainly would be on that as well. We move on to 969, 970 on the betting rotation. It is the Cleveland Indians, and they play host to the New York Yankees. With the Yankees not announcing a starter, I'm sort of assuming that they're going to be going with Chad Green as an opener, and then from there, they're going to go with their wholesale approach. They're probably going to be bringing in guys like Cortez Jr. and guys like that to be able to bridge some innings together, and that approach actually is not one too bad for the Yankees so far. I do think that this is a spot where you're probably going to see a lot of guys like Neil Cortez Jr., you're probably going to see some Chance Adams and company, and then you're going to have all hands on deck from there, guys like Tommy Kahnle, Adam Ottavino and company, who have all been doing a very good job out there in the bullpen for the New York Yankees. The Yankees have one of the best bullpen ERAs out there in baseball, and then you take a look at the Cleveland Indians. Shane Bieber has been doing a terrific job for this team all year long, and keep in mind, Cleveland Indians also have one of the best bullpens out there in the big leagues, and we are noticing that with the Cleveland Indians, they are finally starting to get the bats picked up as well. You do have a lot of guys that, well, they're leaving a whole lot of something to be desired, but that's not Francisco Lindor. Lindor has provided 11 home runs. He's got his batting average just over 300. You've also got Carlos Santana, who's been doing a terrific job of being able to slug for this team. He's got 11 home runs himself. His batting average now hovering right in the neighborhood of a 285 to a 290. You do have Roberto Perez, who has 11 home runs as well. His batting average is leaving something to be desired, but at the same time, he's now gotten it up to a 240, which is at least something, because you take a look at some of the other bats. Jason Kipnis, Kevin Plawecki, Leonis Martin, Jose Ramirez. All these guys hitting below a 220. Jordan Luplow hitting a 262 is nice, and they've got Taylor Naquin now off the injured list, but it hasn't been going well for them. Meanwhile, with the New York Yankees, Brett Gardner, it hasn't been going well for him as well. Past 2 weeks, he has really had his struggles. DJ LeMahieu doing a great job of getting on base, 322 average. Didi Gregorius is fresh off the injured list as well. That makes this New York Yankees team all the more dangerous. Aaron Hicks is hitting a 230. He went on the injured list early on in the year, but he seems to be picking it up. Gleyber Torres has been a little bit hot and cold recently, but he still has an average at a 280. He's been providing 14 home runs. And then you got Gary Sanchez, who has just been lighting the world on fire with his 18 home runs. Luke Voigt has 15 of his own. Though both of those guys got the day off on Saturday, you got to think that you're going to see them on Sunday. Gio Urshela himself hitting it right around a 315 as well. So they have been doing a great job of being able to provide the power. And with the New York Yankees, I do have a lot of faith in this bullpen. Going to be probably looking at Yankees and under in this spot, because with Shane Bieber, he has been doing a very good job so far this year. But the big bugaboo with Shane Bieber is the fact that sometimes he does lend himself to a little bit of hard contact. You take a look at him for the year, 5-2 record, 357 ERA. 15 home runs, though, in 75 and 2/3 innings. And if there's one thing the Yankees do very, very well, it's be able to pop those home runs. 92 punch-outs in 75 and 2/3 innings that we do know about the Cleveland Indians bullpen. So if you're seeing a total on this game right around 9, I'm probably going to be taking it under with the Yankees. But As always, check back on my Twitter feed at junior_81 for set plays there. 971, 972 on the betting rotation. The Houston Astros play host to the Baltimore Orioles. Dylan Mundy goes for the Baltimore Orioles. Wade Miley is going to be having a party in the USA as he takes a bump for the Houston Astros. Your total on this game is 8.5. With the 8.5, you're seeing the juice a little bit to the over here. The over is anywhere between minus 115, and now we're seeing the over also at minus 105. So this is actually now all over the place, as the under is between minus 115 and minus 105 as well. If you're taking a look at the Orioles, plus 180 across the board. Meanwhile, if you want to lay it with the Houston Astros, that is minus 200 across the board. And the Baltimore Orioles have actually been playing the Houston Astros quite tough recently. We've been seeing the Baltimore Orioles being able to have some good pitching, and it's because the Houston Astros, they're right now without George Springer, Carlos Correa, and Jose Altuve, which that's going to alter any team no matter how deep you are. You still have Michael Brantley in the lineup. He's been doing a terrific job for this team. He's got 10 home runs. His batting average is hovering right around at 320. But then you've got a bunch of other guys that are very average. Yuri Gurriel, 255. Jake Marisnik, now hitting below a 250. Tony Kemp is hitting a 225. You're noticing that the catcher spot with Robin Cicherinos has been good. He had a streak of 4 games in which he had 4 straight home runs, but he seems to be falling back to earth. Derek Fisher is hitting a 250. Now Alex Bregman is just providing a lot of power at this point, just below a 280 average to go with 18 home runs. He's been sensational there, and Josh Reddick is hitting above 300, but it's really hit or miss with this team. Meanwhile, you take a look at the Baltimore Orioles. You do have a couple guys hitting above 300, and Trey Boom Mancini and Hanser Alberto, and with Mr. Mancini, he's provided 13 home runs for Renato Nunez. Hit his 16th home run of the year on Saturday. Pedro Severino had a 3-home run game earlier this week. He's now hitting 285. Jonathan Villar is hitting just above a 250. Keon Broxton, Richie Martin, and Stevie Wilkerson at the bottom of the lineup hitting 225 or lower, and we know that Chris Davis is sitting below the Mendoza line, but all in all, they seem to be getting some better pitching right now, and Dylan Bundy, ever since looking absolutely awful to start out the year, has actually been doing a much better job for this team. Now, he still has a little bit of an issue giving up the hard contact, 14 home runs given up in 64 innings, but with the Houston Astros, they're missing a lot of their hard contact guys right now. He's got a 4.64 ERA. Provided 64 strikeouts in 64 innings, and the bullpen has looked a little bit better for the Orioles. Meanwhile, with Wade Miley, he's given up the hard contact as well. 74 in the third innings, 19 home runs given up, 3.39 ERA. Not necessarily a guy that's going the deepest in his starts, and the Houston Astros have shown some chinks in the armor with regards to their bullpen as well. I do think that this is another spot in which the Baltimore Orioles provide some value. So for that reason, looking at the Baltimore Orioles here with this big plus price, and I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game because I like the way the Orioles have been pitching recently, so I'm going to be playing this total under. Likely going to be locking in the minus 105 juice on under 8.5, but still in wait and see mode on both the Orioles and the under in the spot. As we move on to 973, 974 on the betting rotation, the Kansas City Royals play host to the Chicago White Sox. Ronaldo Lopez goes for the Chicago White Sox. Glenn Sparkman for the Kansas City Royals. Your total on this game is 10. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Across the board, the White Sox are anywhere between a plus 115 and plus 116 underdog. The Kansas City Royals laying anywhere between minus 125 and minus 126. I do realize that Glenn Sparkman has actually had some nice starts for the Kansas City Royals, but I feel like this is a little bit too much respect for him. He's got 1-1 record, 3.37 ERA in 31 innings. He's given up 8 walks and 3 home runs, which is nice, but not much of a swing and miss guy. 19 punch-outs so far this year, and he's had very limited tape on him recently, and now that it's starting to get out, I do think that the White Sox might be able to hammer him and hammer him hard. Now with Ronaldo Lopez, he's given up so much hard contact. 69 in the third innings, and he's given up 17 home runs and 33 walks. That is not good, but this is also a guy that we saw in a start against the Detroit Tigers a little bit over a month ago. In 6 innings, gets 14 strikeouts, so he does have some electrifying stuff, and he is backed up by a lineup that is providing a lot of power as well. Jose Abreu, 251 average, 16 home runs, 52 RBI. You've got Tim Anderson, who's been doing a terrific job of getting on base. His batting average is just above a 320. Yohan Moncada at the top of the lineup, hitting a 285. He's got 12 home runs. You saw Eloy Jimenez go deep yesterday for his 7th home run. He's been struggling with the average along with Jose Rendon. Both these guys below a 230, along with Ryan Cordell is hitting a 222, but they seem to be picking it up. Charlie Tilson is hitting a 260. Yomer Sanchez has upped his average to a 255. And then you've got James McCann, who's been absolutely sensational at the catcher spot, hitting at 333, along with your Lourdes Garcia, who's hitting a 287 at the top of the lineup. Meanwhile, the Kansas City Royals, you've got a couple guys that are doing a terrific job of being able to get on base. Adalberto Mondesi, 277 average, over 40 RBI, 24 stolen bases to lead the league. Alex Gordon, 285 average in his own right. Whit Merrifield hitting nearly 300. But then you've got the famine bats of this team. Cam Gallagher, Brian O'Hearn, Nicky Lopez, all hitting a 215 or lower. And then whenever you get back Lucas Duda, he's hitting well below a 150 right now. Chesler Cuthbert has been a nice find for this team. He's hitting 323. He's got 3 home runs in about a week. Jorge Soler has provided 16 home runs to go with his 236 average. But all in all, you've got some very cold bats for the Kansas City Royals. The top of the lineups have been great, but because the bottom of the lineup is so bad, it leads to them stranding a lot of men on base. And I do think that that'll be to the advantage of Ronaldo Lopez, which means that some of the home runs that he's going to give up probably going to be more of the solo variety. And I do think that the White Sox are going to be able to get into that Kansas City Royals bullpen, which has not been good all year long. And I do think that Sparkman's going to deliver a decent start, but I think that the bullpen of the White Sox, which is in the top 10 in the big leagues in regards to the ERA, going to win out here. So going to be taking the plus price here with the Chicago White Sox and the under. Already locked in the under on this game. I'm in wait and see mode to see what price I'm going to be able to get with the Chicago White Sox, though. 975, 976 on the regular rotation. You've got the Texas Rangers playing host to the Oakland A's. Frankie Montas goes for the A's. Drew Smyly goes for the Texas Rangers. Total in this game is 11. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. If you're looking at the A's, anywhere between minus 155 and minus 158. Plus price here with the Rangers is between plus 144 and plus 145. We talked about this game with Gilles Gallant, and I am all about Frankie Montas in this spot. Frankie Montas has been sensational. Drew Smyly has been sensationally awful. Drew Smyly, 1-4 record, 7.93 ERA in 42 innings, has given up 13 home runs. That's right around 3 home runs per 9 innings. 29 walks as well. That's over 6 walks per 9 innings. Meanwhile, Frankie Montas, I think he's given up 1 home run since tax day. I'm not even kidding. I think he's given up 1 home run since tax day. That is absolutely sensational. 69 strikeouts in 70 innings, 283 ERA, 7-2 record. And with the Oakland A's, their bullpen got taxed a little bit yesterday, but at the same time, they still do have quite a few guys that you can rely upon from the bullpen, like Blake Tryon. You've got so many other guys that are able to provide a little bit more long relief, so I do think that they're going to be able to bring out some of those guys. And with the Texas Rangers, they actually have been doing a little bit of a better job out there in the bullpen as well. Guys like Martin and company have been able to come in and bridge some innings, and I think that Drew Smyly is going to be knocked out of this game early, but I do think that with the great pitching of Frankie Montas, this is a game that's going to stay under the total. And with the Oakland A's, you do have some guys that are really starting to pick it up with the bat. Matt Chapman, 258 average, 16 home runs, 36 RBI. Marcus Semien now hitting 270. He had a multi-home run game on Friday. Jeff Fegley has provided a 270 average. He's right now leading the team in regards to RBI. He's also provided 7 dingers. Mark Canha now has his average right around a 250. Chris Davis hitting a 242 to go along with his 12 home runs, though he's been really in an outage in regards to the home runs. Matt Olson, though, he's got 8 home runs and a limited amount of at-bats. The 232 average could use some work for Chad Pinder and Ramon Loreno, both now hitting a 259 or higher, is big for this team as well. And then you take a look at the Texas Rangers. They're going to be without Joey Gallo in this game. He has a 275 average to go with 17 home runs. And then from there, the power drop-off is quite real with this team. Elvis Andrus is hitting above a 300. Sin Chu Chu is out of the fold as well. He was another guy that was hitting right around 300. And now you take a look at some of the bats for the Texas Rangers. You've got Lionel DeShields Jr. is hitting a 248. That's actually been very good for this team, and Asdrubal Cabrera has upped his average to a 251. Noah Mazar is hitting a 270 to go with it, along with his 9 home runs. Barud Nandor and Ronald Guzman both hitting below 220 for this team. Jeff Mathis, whenever he's in the fold as well at the catcher spot, hitting below the Mendoza line. Though I will say that Hunter Pence has been a nice find for this team. 281 average, 13 home runs, but I do think that Frankie Montas delivers a very good start here for the Oakland A's, and he's going to be able to hold them down. So for that reason, going to be all aboard the Oakland A's run line and the under in the spot. I'm in wait and see mode to see if I'm able to get more of an 11.5 on this under, and right now the run line price I'm noticing with the A's is minus 110. Would like to be able to get even or better, but if I have to take the minus 110, I have to take the minus 110. 977, 978 on the bag rotation. The LA Angels play host to the Seattle Mariners. Wade LeBlanc goes for the Seattle Mariners. Trevor Cahill for the Angels. The total on this game is 10. The under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. If you're looking at the Angels, you're going to be laying anywhere between minus 148 and minus 150. Plus price here with the Seattle Mariners is between plus 138 and plus 140. Does anyone want to be laying minus 150 here with Trevor Cahill? I mean, have we seen this guy so far this year? I know that Wade LeBlanc has not necessarily been terrific for this team, but after they had that stupid opener come in for him in his last start, he wound up going 8 innings and he gave up 1 run. He actually looked quite sensational in that start. He, for the year, has not necessarily been great. 2-2 record, 5.7 ERA, but he actually has greater numbers than Trevor Cale. Trevor Cale, in 57 2/3 innings, has given up 16 home runs, 7.18 ERA, 140 whip. There's just no backing him right now. And with the LA Angels, their bullpen, which was actually very good to start the year, has completely failed them as of late. The Seattle Mariners also have an awful bullpen, but I do think that Wade LeBlanc is really starting to find it right now. And with the Seattle Mariners, you do have a team that's a little bit feast or famine. They either hit a home run or they don't give you much at all. And it's all led by Edwin Encarnacion, 240 average, 17 home runs, 42 RBI. Domingo Santana's doing a great job of driving in guys. 47 RBI, 270 average, 13 home runs. Now you do have Mitch Haniger, who's right now suffering from a ruptured testicle. All of us here at MLB Overtime Betting offer our thoughts and prayers to him. But with that said, that means that you're dealing with some guys that, let's face it, they're not necessarily holding up their end of the bargain in regards to average. Dylan Moore, Shed Long, Mac Williamson, and Malik Smith entering into Saturday's contest were all in the starting lineup and all had a batting average of a 211 or lower. Daniel Vogelbach has a 253 average with 15 home runs. Omar Narvaez has been great, hitting above a 280 with his 9 dingers. But Kyle Seager, ever since coming off the injured list, barely hitting above the Mendoza line himself. Meanwhile, for the LA Angels, you've got some good bats out there with Tommy La Stella, 13 home runs, 37 RBI, 315 average. Mike Trout, 16 dingers. He's got an average that's just below 300 himself. So Shohei Ohtani has been a little bit of a disappointment with the average along with Albert Pujols. Pujols is hitting at 234 and Ohtani at 240, but with Pujols at the very least he's provided 11 home runs. Cole Calhoun is hitting at 240 with 13 home runs. You're getting some decent results from guys like Jared Walsh, Luis Rengifo and company. Rengifo hitting at 230, Walsh more in the neighborhood of a 250. And I will say that Cesar Puello in limited at-bats has been providing something for this team, but all in all, I do think that Wade LeBlanc is going to be able to deliver the better start here. I do think that Trevor Cale is going to be getting roughed up and he's going to be taking yard a couple times, though I do think that a lot of those will be solo shots. So for that reason, I'm looking at the Mariners plus price here and the under. Would like to be able to get a little bit less juice on the under and would like to be able to get a little bit more of a plus price here on the Mariners, but we're going to be riding both of those. And we wrap things up with $9.79, $9.80 on the betting rotation. You've got the Arizona Diamondbacks north of the border taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Clayton Richard goes for the Blue Jays. Robbie Ray goes for the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you're looking at the D-backs, that's anywhere between minus 145 and minus 150. Plus price here with the Toronto Blue Jays between plus 135 and plus 140. Total in this game is 9 with the over and under both at minus 110. The Arizona Diamondbacks have just been completely owning the Toronto Blue Jays in this series, and Clayton Richard is just not a guy that I really want to be sticking my chips in the middle with. You take a look at Clayton Richard. So far this year he hasn't been bad. 0-1 record, 3.55 ERA. He's given up 2 home runs in 12 1/3 innings, but throughout his career, he's essentially a lifetime 5 ERA guy. And Robbie Ray, he issues way too many walks. 69 2/3 innings, he's given up 36 walks, but only given up 6 home runs in that time as well. He's done a very good job of limiting damage, 3.62 ERA, 1.39 whip, and with the Arizona Diamondbacks, you've got by far the better lineup. The Toronto Blue Jays as a collective are hitting .219 as they don't have many guys that are hitting for average. Justin Spoke, 236 average. He's got 12 home runs, right around 33 RBI. Randall Grichuk is starting to pick it up for this team. He now has a double-digit amount of home runs, which is nice, but his batting average is still at a 228. Rowdy Tellez has not had a home run in nearly 3 weeks. He has 9 home runs for the year, but just a 222 average. Teoscar Hernandez is hitting below the Mendoza line. Brandon Drury at 230. Everyone at the catcher spot for this team is hitting below the Mendoza line, along with Kevin Biggio. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is hitting a 248 to go with his 7 home runs, which is nice, but you just don't have a lot of redeeming qualities with regards to being able to get on base for the Toronto Blue Jays. Meanwhile, with the Arizona Diamondbacks, you've got a lot of guys that are hitting for this team. Kevin Cron has hit a home run in back-to-back days for this team. Nick Ahmad is hitting 265. You've got Christian Walker, who has picked it up with 11 home runs. He's now got his batting average right around at 260. Edelmaro Vargas, hopefully I said that correctly, at the third base spot is hitting a 265. David Peralta is hitting above 300. Ketel Marte has been absolutely sensational for this team. 270 average, 14 home runs, 44 RBI. Gerard Dyson at the top of the lineup, one of the best base stealers out there in the big leagues. 265 average for him. And then whenever you have Adam Jones in the lineup, I know he's been missing the past couple days. He's also providing a lot of contact. And with the Arizona Diamondbacks, I like what I'm seeing out of the bullpen out of guys like Greg Holland and company. And with the Toronto Blue Jays, they're bullpen has been on a downward spiral as well. So for that reason, all aboard the Arizona Diamondbacks and the under this spot. I've already locked in the Arizona Diamondbacks in wait-and-see mode on this under, and that will do it for the Sunday edition of MLB Overtime Betting. A big thanks to my guest, Gilles Gallant of OddsShark, for joining me in the last segment. If you like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, you can subscribe on Apple iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you ever have a question for the podcast, feel free to tweet it in at @GUnit_81. And let's make today a successful, profitable, and fun one. And we'll catch you guys once again tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.
This is your before and after story, where your first steps towards a new life-changing career begin. Southeastern College can take you there. We offer in-demand hybrid and online programs with hands-on training, led by in-field career professionals, and career services to put you on the path to a rewarding and fulfilling future. This is where your transformation begins. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.